Okay, so let's see. I'm going to be basically following the documentation, and I will include the links in the description below. But according to this, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go ahead and create a new package to store my interfaces in. Make sure that you are in the correct directory. Right now we can see that we are in the workspace. I actually want to be in the source directory, so it'll be stored next to my other package. With that said, I want to run this command. Okay, so what I'm saying essentially is ROS2 package create. I want to create a new package. I'm going to make it a build type of amint cmake. The documentation does say that it has to be this specifically. I'm giving it the same license I did the original package, which is the Apache 2.0, and I am calling the package custom interfaces. With that said, let's go ahead and hit enter, and we can now see that we have two packages inside my source directory. Okay, so the next step is we need to create a directory for each service or each interface type that I intend to use. So here I can see that I have a message and a service interface. They say that what you want to do is each interface that you use that is going to be a message will have .msg for your file tag. Same thing with service, it'll be .sr or yeah .srv. Your directories will also be named MSG and SRV. So with that said, before you go and create those directories, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to step into your custom interface package. Now if we look, we have these two extra directories. We don't actually need them. All we really need is the files. We'll need to make a few changes inside these two files, but ultimately all we really need is just those, and we could delete these two directories. Okay, so now that we're in our custom interfaces package, what we can go ahead and just create our new directories, which would be MSG and SRV. We can see that they have spawned over here, so we're good to go. Now we want to go ahead and just start creating the interfaces, which you'll see that they're very actually simple. So we'll probably just create both of them right now. Or I'll just create both of them right now. Go ahead and CD. We're going to start with the easy one, so we'll go ahead and start right with the message. Going back to our project, basically all we're really sending is a string. To give it a little flair, maybe we'll send like a Boolean value, perhaps, just to give it something else. But you can send more or less as many values as you want. We're just going to more or less define some variables to be sent over. The big thing to keep in mind is that it's a one-way message. It just goes one direction. So you'll see the difference between services and messages in a second. Let's go ahead and create a new file. So I'm not 100% sure, but I do think by convention the idea is that you're going to, for messages, you're going to give it a name of what it's going to be sending. So in my case, I'm going to send the battery status. And make sure you give it the tag of MSG if it's going to be a topic message. Okay. And we can see our new file is right here. So realistically, all this file is it's going to be a list of the variables that we're going to be sending over our topic. And the way that it works is we got to predefine what is going to be carried in that variable and then give it the variable name. So for instance, what we can do is, so what I'm doing now is I'm saying I'm going to pass over an 64-bit integer with the variable name battery status. So like I said, I'm not limited it just to a integer. What we're going to actually do is something entirely different. Actually, we're going to do a string, and we're going to go ahead and pass hardware status message, and we're going to give it a value of string, or a data type of string. But we're going to send over our message, and like I said, what I want to actually do is I want to send over a Boolean value. So I believe all I really actually have to do is, and then give it a name, which in my case, what I want to send, I want to send is if it's plugged in. And in this case, I'll say, so that's actually all we have to do for our battery status. We could go ahead and actually set up our, what would theoretically be our add to int, but it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do something more or less completely different, so that way we could take a lot of this and translate it into the, what would it be, the set battery node, or at least that's my goal. We'll see what I could do. Okay, so come down here, create a new file. We'll call this one, okay, so this one I ended up calling set battery level because that's what I intend to have it do, and just make sure that it got the service tag. And as you can see, I did create it in the wrong file, or the wrong directory. I'm going to cheat on this one, and I'm going to actually just drag and drop it over. Okay. But for the sake of argument, let's go ahead and get over into the right directory. Oh, notice that I didn't make those executables. I don't believe they have to be executable files. Okay, so moving on. We should be able to open this up. So like I said, this is a two-way message now. Let's start with setting up the first end, which would be identical to what we did before. What I'm going to end up passing, because we are always adjusting the battery level by 10, both directions. So more or less, or at least it's going to be the same increment, whether it's decreasing or increasing. We're going to increase by the same value in every step. So really don't need to pass two integers to achieve the goal I want to do. We only need to pass one, which would be the initial integer. The sorry, I don't know why I'm highlighting that 10. These are the 10s I'm talking about. But the only value I really need to pass is the current battery status. And I'm going to also pass whether or not it's plugged in, so that way you could tell if it's charging or not on the other end. So those are the two values that I'm going to end up passing. So we can go ahead and set this up. It will be an integer, 64-bit, with the variable name of, okay, and we're going to give it a Boolean with a parameter name of is plugged in. So now this is the defining difference between I guess you could say the topic or message and a service, is that we're going to have a response, and the way that you separate the two is by 3 dashes, and that's going to tell ROS that now we're talking about what's expected to be in our return. And then in this case, all I am going to return is going to be an integer 64, and I'll call this new status, and that will complete the that'll complete both interfaces. So that's really all it takes to write either interface. So now what we have to do is we have to finish setting up our interface package. Okay, so now that we've gotten this far, then, like I said, the next thing that we need to do is finish setting up our package. What we need to actually do, not this package, we need to open up, let's see, we could start with our CMake. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to, I don't believe I actually need this test, so I'm going to comment that out. And you could actually see right here, it tells you uncomment the following section in order to fill further dependencies manually. I'm just going to copy and paste what I really need, which is this little tiny bit, which is the dependency, the actual dependency that you're going to need, which is ROS idle default generators, and you're going to want to make it required, and you can uncomment that line. So we do need to make sure that we have both the find package AMIT CMake required, which should be there by default, and then we're going to add this default generators and make sure that that is required. That's the first step. So we have one more piece that we have to add to this file, and like I said, that's going to be the files that we just created, the interfaces, excuse me, that we just created. So kind of like with our Larry controller package, when we had to add our entry points, I have to now in my interfaces kind of do the same thing. Only it's going to be here, my CMake lists. And I do that by okay, so what I just added was my ROS IDL generate interfaces. So this is going to basically say any, when I add these files, so when I add this file to the list, it'll generate this interface basically, and it's going to add it to the project name. You do want to leave it actually project name. I did verify that. I believe that the idea is somewhere behind the scenes, ROS is going to be passing the project name around, so you'll be able to grab that in an instance like this. So now our next step is to actually add in our interfaces, which is very similar to the way we did it before. Different, but the same in a way. We're going to go ahead and we're going to say in this case, all we have to do is call the directory, which is going to be message, and then we call the file name. So in our case, it's in this one, battery status dot, and yes, include the file tag, and then you're just going to add them the same way. Big thing I'll note is, or I'll say, is that there is no comma separation here. It's just a new line. And this is going to be our new service, or our custom service, and we name that and that should actually finish our CMake file. That should be ready to go. We can go ahead and close that. We can close this, close this. We can leave this open for now. And what I want to do is do my package XML file. So what I have to do here is you can, and again, the link will be in the the link will be in the description below. But I'm going to include these 3 lines. You can get them right out of the documentation. And this is more or less just adding your dependencies to the project. We can add them right below this line right there. Give them the correct indentation. And I'm just going to comment that out, so that way I don't have that error there, just like we kind of commented out the tests on the other package as well. We do have to do so that we could do inside this one like we did the other interface. So We could say 1.0. We can handle this later. I can handle this when you're not watching me. Okay, so now that we have our package should be set up at this point, so the next step should be to actually build the package. So now that this is where we're going to start seeing where it's going to be beneficial to use the package select, because we have multiple packages. Theoretically, when we use package select, it will only build, in this case, our interface package and not both of them. So before we do that, what I want to do is make sure I'm in the right directory, which would be inside our workspace. So let's go ahead and step out to that directory. And now what we're going to do is so now you're going to really see where this is going to start having an advantage in what we're doing. We won't have to build both packages every time we try to build a project. So if we only make changes in custom interfaces, we only have to build this package. And vice versa, if we only make changes in the controller package, we only have to build that package. Uh-oh. I didn't realize this in the documentation, and if I had probably read it, it might have said something about it somewhere. So what we want to do is camel case. So what is this going to be called? We're going to have to rename them over here as well. So this is going to now be called battery status. We're going to rename this battery status. And we're going to rename this. Okay, so with that said, that's the new name of that. Come back here. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, cool. We got a successful build. Apparently, when you do things correctly, things work right. Alright, well that's just about all I have for today. If you like this video, if this video has helped you in any way, or even if this video has just simply encouraged you to take on some new goals of your own, go ahead and smash that like button. If you want to follow along and see where my build goes next, hit that subscribe button so that way every time I post a new video you won't miss out. Until next time, stay happy, stay coding.